Oh, cool. So Burton Hughes, welcome to Never Broke Again. I'm Josh. Andrew, Burton, thanks for coming on. Andrew reached out and got you to come on to tell everyone how you will never go broke again, or if you went broke again today, what skills you know and can do so that you can get back to where you are and further. So thanks for hopping on.
I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So what are you working on now? Like if your bank account went to zero right now, like what would you do?
So the cool thing about one of the businesses that I'm in is like my primary is the roofing and contracting business. So I would literally just go knock doors. We knock doors now. It's kind of our culture. You know, we go and we do free roof inspections and things like that. But I mean, if my back was against the wall and I didn't have any marketing, I had $0, anything. I didn't have because I built the machine, right? The machine is going. But if push came to shove, I'd just literally go knock doors. I'd file claims, and then I would be back within 90 days. I'd be back to exactly where I am probably now. So I've had my back against the wall several different times. I remember when the real estate market crashed in 2008, 9, and 10. Like it was kind of like a slow process. I was a realtor, and I always kept my pipeline full. When people, like even with COVID, 2 years ago or this year, like whatever, COVID started happening and they started locking everything down. I started thinking, I was like, guys, people are still home here in Dallas. It was still relatively normal. So we would just go knock doors. We would just be more cognizant of like knock on the door and then step back, do free roof inspections. And we would file insurance claims or, because roofs, whether there's COVID or there's a lockdown or like the world's ending, like you still need to protect your house. You need to protect the main investment of your home. So the roof. So with that, I'd go knock doors, I'd file claims, and I'd be back where I was right now. And I train people to do it. I'm consulting with roofing companies. I spoke at a large conference this past weekend about culture and how to build teams and how to pour into your people and leadership and all of that. So I would literally just apply what I already know and be back in business. So
how do you knock on doors? What's the secret to door knocking?
Man, the secret sauce is not to be a weirdo. I think that's you know what I mean? So in all seriousness, what we talk about is kind of being the attractable character. One of the things we do with culture, because a lot of people are going to look at you through their ring, you know what I mean? And it's always kind of weird, like who's at my door or something like that. So what we typically do is, the secret sauce is just go up, knock on the door, step back off the curb. One thing that we really bring to the contracting industry is we bring like a white collar approach to a blue collar industry. So literally we look like we just stepped off the PGA. So I think, like you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but people do, right? So if you got a nice polo on, we got our logo on there, like belt, pants, looking squared away, groomed, you're smiling, you don't look, you're not up there like real pensive because people are going to feel that energy. So we literally just knock the door. They answer the door. I say, hey, how you doing? I'm Burton Hughes with Newview Roofing. I'm working with your neighbor, Brad, 3 doors down. We just noticed you had some damage on your roof right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 5 minutes, jump up on your roof. If there's damage, because I can see it from the ground, but I really just want to get up there. If there's damage, we'll get your insurance company to pay for it, and obviously just chip in your deductible. Or if it's just a small repair, we'll just do it for free. Like I said, I just noticed, something. I would just say something like that, and the next thing you know, I'm up on the roof, and if there's damage, we do our thing. So I don't want to give my whole pitch, but that's in a grand scheme of things, that's what we do.
Andrew likes door knocking.
I love door knocking. So do you have? Yeah, we door knock. We door knock here and there. So do you have analytics like every 20 door? Do you do that, or are you just kind of like, just door knock and that's it?
So
that's the path.
We have all the technology. We have all the apps. We've got the Sales Rabbit. We've got the Hail Recon. So the nice thing about here in Dallas, Texas, is we relatively have storms. I mean, on a regular basis. But the only thing is it's simple, not easy. Knocking the doors is simple, but like the process itself is very complex. But I think people overcomplicate it. Analytics state that the chances are every 4 to 7 years, someone's going to need a new roof in DFW. That's just what it is. But you also then have to factor in that there's 2,600 licensed registered contractors in DFW.
Did you say they're going to need a new roof every how often?
Every 4 to 7 years is the average roof that's destroyed by weather here in Dallas. DFW.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. So like we're putting 30-year shingles on, but letting people know like it's 4 to 7 years is the average roof tenure, like duration. It's 4 to 7 years because these storms that come through, we're at the north part of Texas. So we're at the bottom swing of the like the jet stream. So it'll literally be like a blizzard, in the panhandle, kind of the Oklahoma, Albuquerque, all that'd be like a blizzard, but it'll be 60 degrees where we are because it swings. So that brings tornadoes, hail, hot and cold. It'll be 60 degrees and then drop and be like 30 degrees, tornadoes. That's what happens. So a lot of times, just those weird weather patterns for whatever reason, Dallas is we just get hammered. And our homeowners insurance premiums are higher because of that, because in the Midwest where I was from, like the only time you change the roof is usually like one of the different color. But then down here, it's quick. So I think, how it all balances out is that people aren't filing claims in the north. And then people in Dallas, we're doing it relatively often. So I think the numbers bounce off because obviously the insurance companies are making, are profitable. But that's the thing with Dallas is it's just a really volatile climate. So
analytics.
There was two. I didn't miss that. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I was gonna ask, like, is there a solution for that? Like, or you just have to keep replacing the roof?
There's not, because the thing is like we can go to an impact resistant hail, but then like in April this past year, baseball size hail was falling from the sky, like asteroids. And then back 5 years ago in Wiley, Texas, we had hail so big they were size of grapefruits. They were like cannonballs, literally flying through the roofs, coming through the wood decking, and literally killing people in their homes. So no, like they're not always like that. But like imagine like literally sitting in your house and fucking cannonballs are coming through your roof because like that's what happened. So there's really no type of roof other than being like a fortified, like a fort that you could really do about it. So the thing is, what we do is we just make sure that we're constantly checking the roofs once a year, making sure everything's squared away. They've got different roof ratings, but guys, once the hail gets above, ping pong, baseball, golf ball, all bets are off. So good for me.
So I was talking about
roofing,
like, what's that?
I said good for the roofing companies, right? I mean, we're recession proof.
So you went from real estate into roofing. That's not too far off. But
yeah,
did you say that you transitioned when the real estate market went down and you were like, all right, I'm just going to go knock on doors? And is that how the transition occurred?
Not exactly. So in 2000, so I'm 39. And when I was 21, I was in college. Like I didn't love it. I knew I was going to be in sales. I just didn't know, like I needed to find the vehicle. And I started working for a custom builder as an assistant. And I have a pretty cool story. I'll tell you guys about that sometime. But I literally walked into this guy's office. His assistant was kind of screwing off. This guy was working 25 hours a week, just ripping cigs, sitting in a model home, just selling houses. And he needed an assistant like Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I said, man, I'm just going to come work for you. And then I got into the new home sales. So I started doing that. I was like 16 years younger than everyone. So I started getting into that. There was another company that was like super high pace, high pressure, make a lot of money, but like also like you're always worried if you're gonna get fired if you weren't hitting your numbers. But I like that. I like that energy. So I went to go work for this company and I learned. And then one thing that I found is even when you go and you go and work for these companies, there's criminals, right? So I saw people, and I've seen the good, bad, the ugly. I saw people like making W-2s and falsifying tax returns. And I mean, just all this crazy stuff to get people qualified. And the next thing I know, like our local newspaper, the Columbus Dispatch in Ohio, wrote this thing called Brokered Dreams. And it was talking about like all the stuff that we were doing, not us, but like the company was doing to kind of push and finagle numbers, to get people to qualify on homes on like 2-1 buy down. So I learned the construction business. Then I got into real estate because it was a natural progression. Now I'm not just, tied to one builder. Now I can sell all homes. And then, so I've been doing that really my entire life. But with sales, I've been a consultant for fitness sales, car sales, motorcycle sales, like, roof sales. It wasn't until about 3 years ago that I decided to put my roofing, like kind of put the roofing hat on and literally just come here and do remodeling, storm restoration and stuff like that. I'd never really knocked doors before, but, a few of my friends were in the business. They said, come out to Dallas, check things out. Well, I did. I killed it. Now I have an online training program, how to teach people how to door knock. But all we're doing is just, it's like I said, it's all kind of in the same little bubble. I like the fast pace of this because I remember when you're building homes, it's 9 to 12, 15 months. But here it's, it's a 90-day cycle. So it's relatively quick. I like the fast pace. I love working with homeowners, but I also like to be outside. So it gets me out of the office. So it was a perfect fit. And I think that's why I've excelled so well with this is it's literally the perfect job for me, like personality and like down to my DNA. Like I love what I do and it's fast paced. It's outside and it's in the real estate contracting. And then it allows me to be in homes. And then if we want to buy something, we can buy something. We got Airbnbs, we got rentals. I mean, so we're just involved in all sides. So
yeah, you got a lot going on, Burton. So, I mean, you got, I'm looking on Instagram, you got Lambos. Are those yours?
Yeah, man, I got Lambos, Ferraris, Rolls Royce. Yeah. I like cars. Yeah.
So you're doing well. So what is that like in the beginning, you mentioned you have like the machine. The machine is your roofing company, correct? So what does that look like? Explain to our audience what that looks like for people who are looking to build a business. How many people do you have? What does that look like for you?
So I'm an entrepreneur. So a few of my friends, okay. So I'll explain because roofing has allowed me. So you got to do what did you say? Like do what you have to do so you get to do what you want to do, right? There's nothing sexy about roofing. There's nothing cool. I like it, but it's not sexy. It's not like, oh, I'm in crypto, all these different things. People are like, oh, you're roofing. I'm like, yeah. They're like, huh? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not sexy. There's nothing sexy about it. But what roofing has allowed me to do, guys, allows me to be in different rooms. And then one thing that I'm constantly doing is I'm investing back into myself. I'm joining masterminds, with the cars. In my book I just wrote, one of the, assets that I talk about is like networking with the Lamborghinis that I've always have loved. And I've like literally into my DNA. I leverage the relationships that I make from being in these Lamborghini clubs. And a kid that grew up in a single wide trailer in Columbus, Ohio, by no means, there was no silver spoon. I've always had to work for what I had, but I always had the dream that, I was going to have these cars. I was going to own them. Well, I'm not just owning them to be like, cool, look at me. Like I'm literally owning these cars because I got involved with a tech company. We're building apps for politicians. We are literally building apps for countries. We just built out an app for Dubai. Okay, I got into that group. I got brought into that business because I had the same car as a guy. This guy just sold his company 2 years ago for $200 million. And he was looking at one of my IG videos about how we stain fences. And he's like, man, I must have watched it 20 times. He's like, let's link up. I like what you do. Next thing you know, I'm in a multi-million-dollar, business. I'm, brought in as a partner because they like what I do. And they like the way I approach my business. So I'm in that company. And then another guy started a company where I'm heavily invested in is we actually can take crypto, convert it to US dollars, and you can scan a QR code on your phone and you can check out at any retailer. We're signed up with Target, Best Buy, all these big companies. But the thing is, you see me roofing, but then over here, it allows me to invest and get diversified into other companies. You see what I mean? It's like roofing is like the nucleus. And then basically it's allowing me to dabble and play in the other areas because I've been successful here, but I've poured all my energy into one, making the money that I need and then investing it from there. And I think that's where most people they make the mistake is they think that if they try to do too many things at once, like they'll be spread too thin. Well, if you focus on one thing, you put all your eggs in one basket and you watch them closely, then you can start dabbling in other things. And that's what I've done. And that's why you're seeing me. I wrote a book. It's number 3 on Wall Street Journal, number 1 in all categories on Amazon. All I did was just say, this is what I do, because a lot of people were saying like, man, you got all this stuff going on. How do you do it? Well, I still have breakfast and dinner with my kids every day. Like I'm still doing all these things. It's just I'm very intentional. I'm very like for purpose. And that's how I'm able to do it is do what you have to do. So you do what you want to do. And then once you start making money, then you can start dabbling in other things. And if you're making right decisions and you're around the right people at the right time, like amazing things are going to happen. But you have to be able to take the risk. You got to be able to stomach and go knock doors when it sucks and when it's 108 degrees outside. You also need to know when someone says, hey, I want you to take this meeting, you take it. You take the chances. I think the biggest thing for me is I've been willing to take some of the risks, but I'm also able to see opportunity and I'm in proximity with people that are like really doing some big things. So that's basically it in a grand nutshell. I use roofing and some of these other things to allow me to have opportunities to play in other fields and areas. So.
What was
roof?
What was something that have you
Go
bought
ahead,
something that you regret buying, or Burton? Have you bought something that you're like,
No.
man, I shouldn't have bought that?
No, because I don't just recklessly spend. I know sometimes.
Yeah, talk about that though, because a lot of people get on Instagram like, oh, I want all those cars. However, you bought them for a different reason, and obviously on social media, some people use what you have for bad things.
Yeah, so I think that comes down to intent. One of the biggest things for me, guys, is 10% of my income. The first 10%, the first dollar, I'll put it back into our church. It goes. I type 10% without question. 10% goes immediately. So right there, my purpose is bigger than me. And then here's another thing. Too many people, listen, whoever's listening, will write this down. I heard this not too long. Too many people are worried about the payment and not thinking about the payoff. So we can sit here and talk about, should you invest $20,000 a month in marketing? That's a big number. It's 220 grand. Like, it'll literally make you sick. But if you're investing 20 and it's going to pay you 60,000 on the back end, like, why wouldn't you do it? So I think a lot of times, like, people see like the cars and all this kind of stuff. Like, I firmly believe if you're smart, if you're cash flowing and you're doing things the right way. I know a lot of people were exposed really during COVID. A lot of these like fake Instagrammers and stuff, and they're like, oh, the cars are leased, and they're, but when COVID happened, like, a lot of people disappeared. It really weeded out a lot of people because, it was all fake. They were renting these cars and they were like leasing these mansions or whatever just to film content. But then when COVID happened and everything locked down, like, where was all these cars? Like, where were these houses and these condos and all these places? You see? But the thing is like, if you're doing the work and you're putting in the work daily, you can't fake it. You can't fake success. You can't fake being in shape. Like someone like me, I'm in the gym twice a day. I'm having breakfast and dinner with Mike. You can't fake being in shape. You can't fake drive. Look, motivation's temporary. But if you're purpose driven and your why is bigger than that, like, you're going to stay focused. Everyone can go to a Tony Robbins event over a weekend and be like, woo, I'm changing my state. But then your ass is back in your cubicle on Monday and reality hits you right in the face and you say, like, what am I doing? And then you're frustrated because you haven't really declared on what you want. You know what I mean? So you get these people on Instagram, they're fake flags and want all this kind of stuff. But like, does it make sense for you? Me, you can say, like, I get people like, oh, you got a small dick, you're compensating. No, I don't have maybe I do have a small dick. I don't know. I don't care. But I know that, like, having these cars was something that I always wanted when I was a little kid. I remember being in a single wide trailer. I remember literally thinking that the people at the bottom of the hill in these double wide trailers were rich. Like, that's what I'm saying. So for me to say, like, I got these Lamborghinis, I remember when a little kid, I always wanted that. And my teachers being like, you need to get serious, baby. You need to set realistic goals. People where you come from, like, we really got to think about, this is what my teachers are pouring on. They're literally pouring water on my flame. Same with my family. Like, you always got these big grandiose ideas. But the thing is I put the work in to do it. I was a dreamer. I was relentless. There's a book called Relentless by Tim Grover. And he said, we are born relentless, taught to relent. So most people, especially your family and people close to you, like, they're like crabs in a bucket. So when you start getting success, they're going to be pulling you back. It's just, I think a lot of it is they're not even trying to be mean. They're just literally like just trying to protect you. Like, if I try to tell my mom I'm doing these, man, some of these numbers that we're doing, it's hard to imagine. But she's like, oh, baby, just be careful. I just love you. We just make you moving too fast. Like, she loves me, but like, that shit'll hold you back. So for me with the cars, I just leverage it, get the relationships. I like the cars because it's something that, like, I check the box, but I'm leveraging it to get relationships. And like this past weekend, a very prominent, surgeon here in Dallas, I'm at the gym. He comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, we're going to do this rally in June, and I'd really like for you to be there. Like, I think it would be fun for all of us to get together. If you don't think there's a dollar tied to that event to go on that 3-day cruise, you're crazy. I'm not trying to do it to be cool, but I'm doing both. I'm hanging with my friends, I'm networking, and I'm building my business. Why not leverage your assets? Why not leverage that? So that's what I'm doing with the cars. It's just, you're attracting the like people. And when you're in rooms with people that have like common interests, it takes all the gray away. And then people will get down to, like, what do you do? Because no one's having to size anybody up. Everybody's equal in there. So that's what I feel I've been able to leverage these cars and other little hobbies that I'm in. So
I like the way you look at the cars with as a tool to network. That's how I looked at it. But it's hard to, sometimes pull the trigger because you're like, all right, that's a big how are you financing these, paying cash? What does that look like there?
So here's the thing, what you do. So you can't, so everyone's like, oh, it's a lease. It's a lease. It depends on the residual on the end. I've bought them. I've leased, I've paid cash. I've done a lot of different things. So you can't just walk in the Lamborghini dealership and say, hey, I want a $250,000 car. Like, you can't do it. Right. So you're going to have to stair step up. So, I think when bought my first Lambo when I was 23, and it was Allen Iverson's trade-in. That was actually kind of cool. So anyway, I think the car was $130,000. I think Chase gave me $100,000. So I had to pay like the 30 and then the taxes. But then you never really lose with these cars because you're always leveraged. And all I kept doing was just rolling the equity. I just kept rolling it. So as I've like stair stepped up, they're like, okay, we'll give you $200,000 now, and then $230,000 and $260,000. So you just keep stair stepping it up. So then everyone's like, oh, it's a liability. Remember, people were thinking about the payment, not thinking about the payoff. So just to give you an idea, guys, last year I bought a Lamborghini Aventador, $348,000. I sold it for $408,000 6 months later. So tell what's a liability, okay? So tell me how that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I took half of that money.
Yeah.
I took half that money that I put in my $100,000 back in my pocket. I took half of it, invested heavily into a company that's literally going to make me compound more money than I could ever even spend when that thing takes and does its thing. The other half, and I rolled it into on a 488 new Ferrari. So here's what I did. I made a shit ton of money because the market's crazy right now. So it's an investment. So right now, I think people just need to stop thinking the old way. I think people right now, like, they got the Dave Ramsey mindset. And I think, I'm not trying to slam what he does, but listen to me. I'm not going to sit here and worry about cutting my fucking cable bill because I want to save $25 or $50. I'm thinking about how can I make $50 so I can have the cable bill. You undercultures. But what I was going to say is right when COVID hit, I literally was talking to the guy I was doing marketing with, and he was really freaking out because everyone was pulling back on marketing. Like, everyone, and he was really worried that he was going to have to start laying people off. And I said, I know he was working with a couple other roofing companies. I said, hey man, like, what are they spending with you a month? Because I knew what I was spending. And he's like, we're getting ready to lose about 17, like it was around 17 grand is what these other roofing companies, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I said, I want their market share. Now remember guys, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't own this company. I'm just a guy on the sales team, right? So I'm marketing myself as Burton Hughes with Newbie Roofing. So I said, what do I need to do? He was like, well, they pulled their marketing. I was like, I want all what they were doing. I want all of it. I want their market share. I'm taking it all. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, you literally just saved me from having to lay people off. But I had to make that decision to like invest, not knowing if the world was literally coming to an end. But I saw an opportunity and I had to have the stomach to be like, this is what I'm going to do. But to think about it, me stepping up and then taking that market share from those other roofing companies that want to throw in the white towel. I was able to save jobs. We were able to build our company. I was able to have more success. I had one of my best years during COVID when everything was locking down. But the thing is if I would have been like everyone else and cutting and pulling back, I wouldn't have been able to surge. I doubled my business last year. So the thing is like, it's how you want to look at it. So that's the thing that I want people to do. Everyone's talking about cutting and where to cutting expenses. If you're trying to grow your company, you can't cut. You got to expand. If you're going to bring on more people, how can you cut expenses? So then now everyone's like working with less. So why not think about how you can generate more income? So when everyone was like, oh, we can't knock doors. I'm like, everyone's home now. Let's double down. You're laid off from your job right now? Come knock doors. Put on a polo. Let's get it. So the thing is like, that was my mindset. So again, me being relentless and being young and everyone telling me to sit down and be quiet, you're too, no, like that's my God-given talent. So anytime I ever try to go away from that, anytime I ever try to play small or like try to fit in a box, like I would get depressed and I would have this anxiety because I knew I wasn't living to my God-given talent. I know the Lord's working on my mouth because I know I cuss every now and again. I apologize for it. He's still working on me on that. But for me, I'm able to see the opportunity because I have the confidence that I know I can take calculated risks, but sometimes I can't explain the ROI to you. You talk about analytics, this and that. Sometimes you just need to go to work and roll your sleeves up and let's get it. That's what you need to do. So everyone's worried about ROI and I don't know. Why don't you just go try? because I think a lot of times people get stuck. We call it mental masturbation. You can sit here and cut it up and look at all the different ways that the numbers won't work, or you can literally just go work, knock doors, and get after it. And what I mean by knocking doors, like in my business, like we don't have to necessarily knock doors, but maybe knocking doors in your business is get on the phone and making some phone calls or sending out emails or sliding into DMs. Like, who cares? Just get after it. Everyone wants to take the easy route. Like, how much marketing or what's the ROI? Like, instead of just do the work, just do the work and get after it. So that was one thing that I really learned about myself is during COVID, I expanded when everyone else was looking to contract and pull back. And remember, guys, I'm an entrepreneur. This is not my company. This is literally me just investing in myself and taking other companies just as myself. Like, think about that. And I was able to do that. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, like, that's what I did because I'm looking to expand. I'm not trying to contract. I'm not trying to pull back. I'm trying to look for opportunity to grow. So,
yo, Burton, if I ask you scale of 1 to 10, Burton, how serious are you right now about all this? Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm a 10. There's no question. I'm a rolling 10.
Oh, damn. I thought you were going to say over 10. I thought you were going to say like 15.
Yeah, but that's cheap. I could have said that. But, you know, scale 1 to 10, I'm all in, man. I think that's in. I think everybody, I'm all in. That's it. All in on everything. Very intentional, bro.
Do you know Jeremy Minor? Are you familiar with him, Burton?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, he's a salesman. So I'm just kind of throwing this out here, but he was making $2-3 million a year as an entrepreneur, and he thought his bosses were making like 50, 100 million, whatever it was, because he was killing.
I'd make it more than them, right?
He was so hindsight, yeah. Years later, he's like, well, how much were you guys making back then? And they were like way less than you, but they ended up selling that company though for $2.2 billion. And he was like, shoot, well, now I'm kind of taking steps to building that. And has that crossed your mind, or are you, obviously you're doing very well regardless, but has that crossed your mind to step out, or are you okay? Because I mean, entrepreneurs, you can become a billionaire being an entrepreneur. Look at like the guys at Blackstone, you know, those guys don't own the company. I'm sure they do, but they're billionaires, you know, so they've succeeded being entrepreneurs, obviously. But has that ever crossed your mind? Or
the cool thing is if you make yourself irreplaceable and you're invested in the company. See, I came down here, I knew one person when I came to Dallas. I knew one person. And I came down here and I was all in. That first weekend, I just started getting after. My first month, I think I sold 11 deals, made 40 grand my first month. Then I knew I was onto something, and I wasn't even good yet. So what I've been able to do as I started building this business is like I'm pouring into the business. I'm growing the brand. We're opening territories, and I'm building sales teams. Well, the company came to me because they obviously, then they gave me they gave me partial ownership. So I'm now partnered in this company. But the thing, like, I know because absolutely, like, you want to think about like, hey, you just want to be a guy. You know, so like in this business, you eat what you kill. So there's no residuals, right? I mean, that's how it is. Yeah. The cool thing about it is now I have been given, you know, some ownership, and there's some revenue share there, and I'm building sales teams. So what I'm telling you is for me, I know I'm not a CPA. I want to focus on sales and building sales teams, period. That's it. I don't want to worry about the balance. I don't want to worry about, you know, profit and loss. Like, I think about that stuff, guys, but that's not my role. My highest and best use is sales, building sales teams, and growing the business. So you got dreamers, you got integrators. The integrators are the people that are in the office ordering materials. They're doing the CPA, they're balancing books, they're paying the contractors. Let them do what they do so that I can do what I want to do. So the reason it makes sense to me being an entrepreneur in this is I'm free and unencumbered. A lot of times people want to open their own business, which I think is great, but then they don't know how to run a business. So for me, I know how to run a business, but for me, it makes sense because all I have to do is focus on one job. I don't overcomplicate it. I know what my highest and best use are, and then boom, I get after it. And that's where I've been able to do with this company. And I think a lot of times people make the mistake where, you know, it looks sexy, but then next thing you know, you're paying your own, like the insurance and unemployment, and you're worried about all this stuff when you didn't think about it. And next thing you know, you're frustrated because now you're doing all these other roles that literally, like, if you're doing what you want to do, if you're doing it and something that you're good at, like, you're going to love it. But if you're doing, like, you're handling the marketing and the sales, and like, you're going to literally burn yourself out. Like, you don't have the bandwidth. But if you're doing your passion and you're doing, like, you're following your heart, you can work all day. But when you start working on your mind, because you really have to think of all these other different things, like, that's where the burnout happens. I've done it. So I think it's knowing yourself and knowing, like, to your DNA, like, what makes sense, and saying no to a lot of that stuff. Because you're right, I could probably start my own company, but does it make sense for me? What I have a really good opportunity here. And again, I'm putting money into other companies. So it's a win-win. And if you're able to leverage that and you're able to have those conversations, I would tell people to do that for sure.
So door knocking, you're familiar with Knockstar and D2D-Con and all that? Have you heard of them?
So like, my license plate is actually Knockstar. That's funny. To be honest with you, I'm going to tell you something. This is crazy. I don't watch other people's stuff. I don't follow any of the other door-to-door stuff, because I know it sounds crazy, but I'm in my own little zone over here. I got my own thing. We built our own thing. Like, maybe I should, reach out to those guys and talk about it, but I don't. I just literally, we fly in our own bubble. We train our own culture. We got our way we do things, and we keep it moving. And everyone always asks me, do you know these people? I couldn't even tell you who they are. I think I've heard of their companies, because, kind of the circles that I'm in, everyone kind of knows everybody, but I can honestly tell you, I've never seen any of their material. I've never looked at it. I've never looked at any of their trainings. I just know what I do and what works for us. And then we build our own platform.
So what's your training platform called?
It's called the Knockstars. And what we did.
Oh, okay.
And again, I didn't even know. I literally was Rockstar. And the reason it came from Rockstar is because we had this like online, one of my good friends is Ryan Stuman, and he had this thing called Rockstar something. So I was like, well, fuck, man, like Knockstar, right? So I Googled it, and there was no trademarks. We trademarked it. We trademarked it. We got the website going. So that's what we did. So, and that's what my license plate is. It's like Knockstar. Everyone's like, oh, do you play for the Knicks? And I'm like, no, not Knicks, like Knock. And it's funny. So.
Yeah. So that, there's their solar.
Yeah.
It's a solar training. Well, door to door, pretty much.
It's solar, but then it's also, there's a lot of these. There's a lot of people doing, like, what's the company it's not Ring? I think they're like Orange Vivint. I think a lot of those are heavily tied into those same programs too, because it makes sense, because they're selling all sorts of stuff for the houses.
So are they infringing, since you have all those trademarks and patents?
No, no. I don't think there's any type of infringement, because it's separate. And to be honest with you, I'm not really too worried about what they're doing. We're going to do our own thing, and we're going to stay winning. So,
I like that Burton doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's just in his zone. He's like, this is what's important to me. Yeah. And then you just do it, man. Like, and it's the same thing. Like, people ask me, like, have you seen this? My fiance Roxanne's like, Josh, you have no idea what's going on. And I'm like, I have an idea. Yeah. I'm in the zone. Like, you get in that zone, and like, you're focused on, giving back to your church, building multiple businesses. You said you have some kids, and you spend time with them, and obviously you reinvest back into your body. So I feel like a lot of people do get too worried about like what Bezos or Musk is doing. It's like, dude, you're not them. Like, they are in a league of their own. Yeah. Like, first of all, they're super duper duper smart, and like, they're crazy. Like, you just can't compare yourself to other people. And I really like that you're just doing you, man.
What's really funny, man, is my 20s. Like I said, I grew up, man. My mom was married 11 times. I had a brother that was murdered in a drug deal. Another brother committed suicide. I'm talking violence. Like, I've seen it all. I've been through it all. I was super depressed one time because I let society, I let how other people see. When you're different scares people. Always was different. You looked at my kindergarten, my first and second and third grade report cards. It was always like, socializes too much, does not listen. Like,
I thought insubordination, I would get a check mark for insubordination on my report card, and I was the only one that got it. And I'm like, yo, I'm the only one that's good. I didn't know it was a bad thing.
I was getting like all these, my report cards were red. You know what I mean? I was a good kid, but like, man, I was always thinking big, and like, I was like, well, I would find like holes, like they would explain stuff, but then I was like a little MacGyver. I couldn't explain it, but I knew that like I could go in and be like, well, we could do a better way. Well, this is how we've always have done it. I'm like, but like at a young age, I was like reworking things to figure out a way to like make things go faster or rework a problem and be like, I was optimizing everything. And I didn't even know what I was doing when I was a kid. Like I was like problem solving, but like it was innate. Like it wasn't like you sit down and explain this stuff to me. I was almost like blissfully unaware of what I was doing. But if there was ever a recipe for someone like me that's like in sales and they're talking to people and they're building sales teams, like I literally swear to God, it's a gift from God. It's in my DNA. So all these different times I was getting frustrated and I was like, maybe when the market crashed, I'm like, maybe this is a sign that I just need to like play it safe and be a sales manager for a company that has benefits and all this kind of stuff. Whenever I ever tried to even have those type of thoughts, I would get super depressed because I felt like a caged lion. I felt like I was selling out. And it really bugged me. So my whole 20s, I had this mindset that I had to step on you to get where I needed to be because I had like this junkyard mentality. Like if we were in a sales office, typically I was the number one sales guy, but my attitude was terrible because I didn't like you. I wouldn't be like be mean to you, but like you were my competition. And if you were selling houses, you were taking food out of my mouth. So I was literally, I'll be damned if I was going to take that. You know what I mean? So like I was winning, I was hitting numbers, I was killing it, but I was climbing this ladder only to realize my ladder was against the wrong wall because I was chasing something. But as I made more money and as I was hitting, I was number one, all this kind of stuff. It was very unfulfilling. And I don't know what happened when I turned 30, like the proverbial, like there was like a light switch. I don't know if it's just like a softening of my heart or if I was like the Grinch and my heart like grew like 4 sizes bigger, but like when I turned 30, like I was like, man, like that's not the way. Like you can go faster going alone, but like if you want to go far, you got to go together. Like, I mean, that's just true. So then I started realizing like if I leverage relationships and I really poured into people, then I started building teams and then I could actually duplicate myself. And that's when I started getting the joy of like people that were struggling in their businesses. I was able to help them. And then I got this big, I don't know, it's like an epiphany went off. I can get my goals. I can hit my numbers and I can help you hit your numbers. There's plenty of us to grow. And man, when that light switch hit, I felt, again, once in my life, I felt free and unencumbered. I didn't have the anxiety and the stress and the depression because I always felt like I had to fight. But all it was like my mindset was wrong. But then once I realized together we can do this, I'm not trying to be kumbaya. I'm not sitting here like drinking that Kool-Aid. I'm just saying like we all can work together. There's plenty of us. Plenty for us to eat. So you're talking about like door knocking. I want them guys to kill it because if they're selling like solar panels, guess what? Sometimes a roof's going to need a new roof if you're going to put solar panels on it. So either way, I'm going to get it, period. Or if I sell the roof and I can refer it out to a solar company, we just recently started our own solar division. But the thing is like, there's plenty of us to eat. I think people get, caught up in what everyone else is doing. But if you just stay in your lane and do your thing, like, you just can't go wrong. But I just figured out once I started thinking about collectively, and even this past weekend, everyone's like, well, you were sharing like your secrets, going after real, like, I'm not sharing my secrets. If I do better and I can pour in other people, it makes the industry better, So that's how I'm looking at it. Like that's where I'm at in my life right now. And maybe that's what happens when you're in your 30s. Now I'm 39, I'm gonna be 40. Like, who knows? I'm gonna turn into Gandhi. I'm gonna be Gandhi when I'm like the roofing Gandhi when I'm 40. I don't know. But I just know that I know I'm in the right lane right now, and I'm.
You're a little bit bigger. You're a little bit bigger than Gandhi. I've seen your Instagram pictures.
Yeah, that's funny.
So one thing I loved about your book, Burton, is you hired at such a young age. I don't remember what you did. You were like, I wanted to be Mr. America. I can't remember exactly. You wanted to be pretty much top of the game. And you were like, I hired the best trainer. I don't think you could really afford him or whatever it was. And he was like, you got to get fat and then you got to get skinny again. And that always was like, all right, that because I'm skinny naturally. I guess probably you are, maybe you are too. But how do I get thicker? How do I get bigger? And I was like, that is right. That kind of clicked in my head. But
I just want to speak. So again, coming back to my book, like the assets, I talk about like your fitness, and with your fitness, I mean your physical fitness, but I also mean like your mental fitness too. So you're right. It didn't matter how much money I made or I was coming up to success. Like I didn't have confidence. I couldn't buy confidence. You can't buy being in shape. You can't buy confidence. Like I hid behind kind of like I'm number one in sales and all that stuff, but like you still have to look yourself in the mirror and like, are you proud of yourself? Are you where you want to be? Are you the most elite version of yourself? And a lot of times we can fake, and you can walk out and you can put the Superman outfit on, or you put your work uniform on, and you can kind of step into a character. You can step into a role. But what I realized is like, I couldn't buy confidence. So I hired a trainer and a dietitian because I knew that I only had limited resources, and that for me to be the best version of myself, there's some boxes that I needed to check. And did I think I wanted to be a bodybuilder? No. No, I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking like, I always had like good shape. I kind of like a swimmer body. I was a model, like Abercrombie model and all that stuff, but like I was still like skinny, so I got a trainer and a dietitian, and man, he was having me eat steak and sweet potato and cherry pie filling. Dude, I went from like 136 to 216 fat, like probably diabetic and all this stuff. Like, but I had to get anabolic. I had to put on muscle. But like, and other people that say like, well, you don't know what it's like to be fat. Yes, I do. Because I went from 136 to 216 in a relatively quick time. And then I went from 216 to 154 in 5 months. So here's what I did, fellas.
All right, Christian Bale. Christian Bale getting ready for his next movie.
Brother, all I did was do the work. You know what I mean? It was 7 meals a day, 5 meals, 2 snacks, cardio in the morning, and workout in the afternoon, or whatever we did. I followed it to a T because I wanted the result, but I'm coachable. I don't hire someone just so I can bounce ideas off them. I want someone to tell me and pull me on my shit. If I'm not, if I'm like, hey man, like you're slacking a little bit, like I want that. Because the thing is, if you don't have someone pushing you and holding you accountable, you the way you look at yourself in the mirror, you're looking at yourself through a distorted lens. You're gonna tell yourself it's okay to take your foot off the gas. It's okay to take a break. Like you need someone like on you. So I got a coach that was gonna be on my ass. Well, literally what happened is I ended up within 9 months of all of this, guys, I won Mr. Ohio. And then I took a year off to like actually do it. And the thing was like, they were like, well, let's put these board shorts on. There's this new division called men's physique. And I'm like, whatever, just go, just do it. Just try. I'm like, fuck it, let's roll. So I put these board shorts on. Guess what? I won nationals. I turned pro. But the thing is like, I fast tracked that. I don't have the best genetics, but I'm going to tell you what, my hard work is what has put me where I'm at. Because when most people take their foot off their gas, or they back out, or they tell themselves they can't do something, like I'm almost blissfully unaware. I'm almost too stubborn. And let me tell you, my boss, when I was a new home sales, said, I was like, man, I want to get in shape. He said, you don't have the bone structure for it. Like, quit being silly. And every day I tapped that button. I kept tapping that button because I remember Bill Costello. God love him. He's a good dude. But he was like, you don't have the bone structure for it. Every day that I didn't want to eat my meals and I didn't want to train, I just thought about, and maybe it's just me being petty, I don't care. But I used that as fuel when he said, you don't have the bone structure for it. Well, the funny thing is it turns out I did have the bone structure for it. I just needed to put in the work. You know what I mean? So then myself.
Yeah. Burton, you're alive, man. You got some energy, bud.
Bro.
We had Ari Mizell on a couple podcasts ago. And it's funny because I was like, well, what do you know what I mean? Do you know what a flow state is, Burton?
Right now.
Yeah. So I feel like your whole life is a flow state. Like your whole life. And I had this conversation with Ari. I'm like, well, I just want to live my whole life in a flow state. He's like, no. So it kind of got a little philosophical, like you can only do certain times. But I kind of feel like you're so present that you might be in it more often than most.
Can I tell you what it comes down to? It's like, you read my book, man. Like if you read it, you know that the trials and tribulations that I've had. My story's not better or anything. I'm not telling it to impress people. I just to impress upon people. Like these are the things I've experienced, and this is how I've worked it. So when I talk about your mindset and your faith in your family and your fitness and your finances, your network, I gotta live it every day, guys. Every day is the same. Like, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't care. I wake up every day and know exactly what I need to do, and I follow through with it. The days that I don't want to get out of bed, today my ass was on the Stairmaster. Burned, what was it, 413 calories or whatever it was, and that 30 minutes was on the Stairmaster. I was listening to a podcast. I was thinking about this podcast today on things that I want to speak about. But I've already, like, every day I do the same.
When do you rest, Burton? Do you have a rest day?
You know what's funny, guys, is I sleep 7-8 hours every night. But the thing is like I don't even have to set an alarm clock anymore. Like I set it because I don't want it, like the one chance that I don't. But man, like I'm not tired, guys. That's what I'm saying. Listen, I don't do anything I don't want to do. Like that's nice. I literally choose who I want to be with. I choose who I want to work with. Like everything is on my terms. And I know that sounds really self-centered, guys, but think about this. I am never in a situation that I'm not like where I don't want to be. Like I choose. And when you're in that state and you can literally dictate like your surroundings and who you want to be with. Now, listen, that's not by like, that's literally by design. So every day I don't feel beat down and tired. I look at myself and I look pretty good for 39. I take care of myself. My goal is to be able to walk my daughters down the aisle in 20 years. But I don't have the stress. I don't because I'm everything I'm doing is on purpose. And it's not materialistic. It's just I just every day I wake up, I know exactly what the plan is. I know what I'm going to do. And I do my day. And when I fall asleep, I just do it again the next day. And if I want to take a break.
So you have no fear factor. You have no fear lid. You have no, where do you think that comes from? Is that genetic? Is that self-taught? Is that mind? Like, where do you think that, do you know, did that kick in when you were like 16 or is that, it sounds like maybe it was always
how
with
grew up, man.
I think,
that's just
like, no, seriously, I think it is because I know exactly what I don't want. Like, think about this. Like, I knew what I came from. So really funny. Another roofing guy spoke with me this past weekend. Think about this. I think his company's going to do 140 million. I'm guessing, right? This guy moved to the United States with $500 in his pockets from South Africa. Okay. He literally lives in a $9 million house here in Dallas now. But what I'm going to try to tell you is like, I said, holy shit, Burton's calling me. I said, hey, man, what's going on? What's going on? He's like, hey, he didn't even say hello. This is a little while back. He said, you ever feel like when you wake up in the morning that your back's against the wall? And I'm like, every day. He's like, me too. He was like, just something to think about. I'll talk to you. And then he like hung up and that was it. But if someone like that literally has the mindset that every day, it's not a scarcity mindset, guys. Well, what I'm thinking about, someone like that at that level can wake up and literally feel the pressure to like it's in a good way. Like if you feel like your back's against the wall, you're not like resting, like you're literally purpose driven. That's why their company is growing. But I'm also going to tell you, this is also a guy that doesn't have a lot of stress because he knows exactly what he's doing. And just like me, I have no doubt if I make a decision, I have no doubt. I sometimes I make wrong decisions, but I can figure it out. I can unfuck those decisions. But if I make a decision, I'm never like, oh, what should I do? I'm very clear on what I can do. And if it works, let's roll. But if it's a wrong decision, I can pivot. So I'm never in doubt on what I'm going to do. And I'm absolutely certain on everything that I do. And I don't know if that's something from the way I grew up, but I don't know how to be a father. I know how not to be a father. I don't hit my kids. I don't really yell at my kids. Like I pour into them. I pour into the relationship. I show up. You know what I mean? So in business, I know I fuck people over. So I don't. I literally, with integrity, like everything I do is typically, it's integrity. And when you start living like that, guys, you're not tired anymore. You're not frustrated. I think most people are walking around on this earth right now and they're frustrated. But if you ask them why, they wouldn't be able to tell you. Because they're frustrated and they're snapping at their kids and they're yelling at their wives or whatever it may be. It's like, bro, what are you so mad about? What are you frustrated about? You're in control. What is it?
Because they're so busy. They're so busy
doing nothing. It's what they're busy not being dollar productive or whatever it may be. So once you get absolutely certain on what you want and where you're wanting to go, and I don't mean like, again, I'm not talking about setting these weird goals because it's January. I'm talking about like, what do you want? And once you figure out what that is, then you don't have to stay motivated. You don't have to go to, conferences that get jazzed up because you're living with purpose. You know exactly where you're going. And if you're not there and you can make the pivot, you'll make the decisions you need to do, but it's not based on motivation. You see what I mean? And I sleep. I'm not one of those worker bee guys. If I want to go, I pick my daughter up almost every day from gymnastics. I go to her gymnastics events. We have dinner together. Like I'm present, brother. I see these guys that have their own companies. I'm like, when's the last time you go to a dance recital, bro? He's like, never. I was like, but your kids are in the best dance classes, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, your kid's 15. He's on one of the best soccer teams. His son's soccer team beat the women's Olympic team. And these kids are 15, like legit, no doubt. I said, you don't go to your kids' soccer events? He's like, no, man. I was like, you're self-employed and that's bullshit. I was like, your kids deserve more than that. The funny thing is he started crying. It's not funny, but he started crying. He said, man, you're right. He's like, here, I thought I was putting in and I was putting, but kids just want his time. I said, yeah, man, you're successful, but like you're dropping the ball on the most important thing in your life, your family. And then when I started talking, man, the proverbial light bulb went off. Guess what, man? This guy packs a gym bag every morning now because he wants to be healthy. He goes to his kids' events now, and his business is better than it ever has been because he's living with intent and he's living with that purpose. So that's what this stuff's all about, man. And I hope that people are listening to this right now that are frustrated. Figure out what you want. And if you are frustrated right now, it's because something's not in agreement, something's not aligned. And that's really what this book was really going right after, is that work-life balance. It's impossible. It's a negative mindset. If you're trying to balance something, that means you're pulling from one to feed another. The scale's going to tip. And if something's at balance, it means that it's zero. I don't want to be at zero. I want to be at 100 miles an hour, controlled. You know what I mean? So that.
Yeah. So question about earlier, you mentioned, all right, we're going to spend X dollars on marketing, 17,000, 20, whatever it was. So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there. All right, when do you pull the plug if it's not working, right? Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, only thing I can tell you is I go by feel. And, you know, with me, like, I knew that taking on the market share, you know, picking up that extra 17K that the other roofing companies had pulled back, I knew that there was no way that I could fail. Now, if I double down that money, you can throw useless dollars. I had a relationship with this marketing team, and I call them a great friend. So I knew that me investing the money, that I was aligned with the right people. So yeah, very quickly, if you're spending, you know, 20,000 or whatever it is a month and it's not working, you need to pivot. But I had already established the relationships. I'm already working with people that are doing things with integrity and that things are working. I don't just throw money at problems. That just doesn't work. I still value the dollar. Again, you can't always throw money at problems. You actually have to do the work. So with me, like I said, whenever I make a decision, I would say 80% is by how I feel in my gut. And the other 20% is like, what's the ROI? You know, because a lot of times you just know if it's the right way to go. And again, you know, one of my really good friends, Tom Keenan, he wrote a book called Un-F Your Business. But the thing is like, if you make a wrong decision, like, you can fix it. It's not a death sentence, right? So in this case, if you're investing in marketing and you're afraid, the thing is, the worst thing you could do is not to do anything at all. And I think that's where most people get stuck, is they can't make a decision. They're so focused on, like, you know, the problem, but they're not thinking about, again, they're thinking about the payment, and they're not thinking about the payoff. So a lot of times, like, the self-confidence that I have right now is I trust myself. I trust my intuition. But a lot of that has come to me being the best version of myself. I feel good. I'm making the right decisions. I'm around the right people. So I have the counsel. So if I'm going to bounce an idea, if I'm going to invest in something, look, I'm in rooms with guys. I had a guy that listened to me speak 2 weeks ago that was one of the owners of Mossy Oak. He said, you did a really good job, but man, you really need to pour into this, this, and this. Guess what? I spoke on Saturday, did exactly what he said. He said, that's what I'm talking about. So I've been able to put myself into rooms with these people by design, so that I have the right counsel. I'm not the big fish in the little pond, guys. I don't care about being well known. I just know that if I'm around the right people at the right time, the right things are going to happen. So that's how I kind of manage my life, is I just make sure that I'm, you know, seeking counsel for the right people, and I just trust my gut. And if you make the wrong decision, it's not a death sentence. Just figure it out, fix it. I think just people are really stuck. I think they just get stuck, and then they're just kind of, like I said it the other day, a lot of people die at 25. We just don't bury them until they're 75. And that's really sad to say, but I really believe right now is something that's sad but true.
Do you have any financial strategy? Do you save a certain percentage of every dollar that comes in, or do you reinvest? How do you?
The first 10% goes. I have typically always have like 6 months in reserves, but everything else is going back into the business, brother. You know, so for me, you know, investing in these businesses, that's what I do. So the first 10% tithe, I have 6 months reserves, and then everything else I'm pushing out. And here's the deal: if you don't have enough money for marketing, or if you don't have, I mean, the Ferrari payment guy's $4,600 a month. So you can say, oh my God, that's 60 grand a year. Or you can look at, it's not too expensive. You just don't make enough money. I think Grant Cardone said that, and it really kind of hit me. He was like, is it that it's too expensive, or you just don't make enough money? So I look at it as, what do I need to do to have the lifestyle that I want? And I know that sounds really egotistical, guys, but you got to remember, I grew up in a trailer park. I grew up going and getting fucking, ramen noodles for 33 cents. I remember being like when I was a little kid, I remember being so hungry that I would literally wake up because I could hear the stomach pain. Like I could hear like my stomach. So what I'm telling you is like, people are saying, oh, it must be nice. No, I learned everything on what not to do. You know what I mean? So when you're investing, like I see the opportunity, I'm in the right people. That's what I do. I think it's very smart for me 10% goes. When I started doing that, a lot of opportunities or something that happens when you tithe. I think the Lord gives back to you, and you guys can say I'm, crazy, because some people think, oh, it's just some man in the sky, but that's what I believe. And once I started living with that, and I started having that type of purpose. So one of my goals this year is to give back tithe 10% to be 6 figures. So I need to make a certain amount of money, right? Like, that's where my mind's at. And that, in the grand scheme of things, like, I like the material things because that motivates me. And if people tell me like, no, it's not the good to live like that, it just depends on what your purpose is. If I'm cheating people and I'm stealing and I'm swindling to get those things, that's the problem. I'm not worshiping money. I look at money as a way to earn things and build bridges. So if I'm able to reward myself, have a little bit of heaven on earth while I'm building these businesses and pouring into others, and I got a couple cool cars because that's what makes me tick, why wouldn't you want to do that? You know what I mean? I think too many people are thinking about like, oh, it's a terrible investment. Okay, maybe, but I just told you that I made $100,000 in 6 months on one of my cars, and I'm leveraging relationships because I'm networking with the right people. Think about it. It's not always cutting.
Oh yeah. I believe if you take some risk and it's well intended, it has good intention, that it does, as long as you have an open mind, it will pay dividends. What does your morning routine look like, Burton? Do you have one?
So I do. And the reason I'm laughing is like, this time of year is always funny. Like, I'm not trying to be negative. Like, I'm not a negative dude, but I woke up at 3:30 this morning. I'm getting after it. And I'm like, bro, you're going to be fucking tired by 10. Like, what are you doing? I look at my schedule typically is this. I try to wake up 2 hours before my first appointment. So my typical morning is like this. I wake up. I don't scroll social media immediately. I jump into my office or jump on my laptop, depending on where I'm at. I check my emails. I try to put out any fires that I can immediately. I know some people say like, oh, you should wait to, look at your email. Like, no, if you let something fester like a wildfire, you want to catch it at the beginning because, the more time it goes by. So if I can jump on a problem at 7 a.m. and get it handled, then I've already got a win. So what I do is I wake up, check my email, boom, I get it. I eat half a grapefruit and I'm off to the gym to do my cardio. When I'm on the way to do my cardio, I'm either listening to a podcast, I'm listening to a book. I've been listening to Proverbs here lately. Like, I'm listening to all different things, not always just like self-help and success books. Like, I'm listening to like, again, my mind, it's just what I'm doing. So when I get to the gym, I literally get on the Stairmaster. So today I was on a Stairmaster. I put that thing on level 12. I was busting it for 30 minutes. I was listening to a podcast. I was downloading. So when you're doing your cardio, you're absorbing more information. You're actually able to absorb more information. The epiphany to write my book actually came from me being on a treadmill. It was like, boom, you need to put this on paper. So some of my best ideas, some of my best thinking, some of my best business strategies and marketing comes when I'm doing physical activity, because you can't be depressed. You can't be in your feelings. You can't think about stress and anxiety when you're doing work. So if I'm on a treadmill, if I'm on a Stairmaster, going crazy, like, you don't have time to think about stress. You got time to think about, like, man, that would be kind of cool. But then I put it into action, right? So this morning I woke up, I got my emails out of the way. I reminded myself that we had a podcast today. So I started thinking about what I'm talking about. I got to the gym. I did my thing. I came back, saw my babies. I had breakfast. I checked on 2 jobs, and then now I'm on the computer with you, having some technical difficulties getting logged in, but we made it work. So what I'm going to do when we're done with this, I'm going to go out and check on my job. I'm going to do some of my follow-up in the afternoon. I got 3 coaching calls this afternoon because I help people, with their businesses and helping them become the best version of themselves. And then I'll go to the gym at 3:30. I'll be out of there at 4:15. I'll go back out in the field, check on my job, check on the sales team, and then come home, either pick up my daughter from gymnastics and maybe have dinner with them, and then rinse and repeat. That's what I do every day.
How does somebody hire you for coaching? Is that even an option, or what does that look like?
To be honest, like I said, you can reach me, through the, Instagram and Facebook and things like that. I don't really broadcast it. I don't have this huge machine out there right now. I got 10 people that I work with. I'm not trying to take on the work. I literally, it's expensive. My time's expensive, but what I'm telling you is I pour into people. I show them what I do. I literally do what I say. Again, I'm not one of these guys like these fake gurus out here. I'll literally have you come out to Texas, jump in my truck, and we can roll around for 3 days. And most people by the day 2, they're done. They don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. What does your family look like? You got a daughter? You got one daughter?
3 daughters, 6, 4, and 2.
3.
My
What are their ages?
6'3" and 2. Yeah.
6'3" and 2.
Yeah, my daughter.
Okay. Are you married, Burton?
Yeah, separated, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Has that been tough on you?
You know, emotionally, yes. But one thing I will tell you, like, when you still live with intent and you still pour into your kids, it's things that are bigger than you. So I still see my daughters every day. I'm still showing up. I'm still their dad. You know, what happens, it is what it is. But it has not affected my business because, again, my mission is to be the best version of myself, being the best father. I know that at the end, it's all going to work out the way it should. You know, so most people, when something's out of alignment, everything else crashes and burns. So for me, I poured into my business. I poured into my daughters. I poured into the relationships. Nothing is suffered. Everything is fine. Like, everything is good. So I don't know. That's just how I do it. Again, every day I have a very, 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 very consistent the way I run my day, and I'm staying on it. And that's just it. I don't really get hung up on, things that happen. Things happen to you, but things happen also because of you. So I just make sure that every day I wake up, I'm not dropping the balls, and I'm pushing forward. That's all you can do. So, yeah.
So you have it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today. That's like what, 5,000 copies in the first week? How does that work?
Okay, so I couldn't even tell you. So the way this thing worked is like, I was like, I think I want to write a book. And like I said, I'm in a couple of these masterminds and everyone's like writing these bestseller books. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just write a book to check a box. Like, I want to write a book that, like, no offense, but I want to write a book that means something. I just don't want to check the box like, oh, like bestseller. So I literally poured into this book and I was going to self-publish it. But then, you know how certain things just happen for a reason? During COVID, there was
like the cars.
Yeah. So during that time, I had the book and I loved it. Like, it was my book, but it wasn't reader centric. So again, being coachable, I wrote the book, but it was more of an autobiography. And I thought it was great. Everyone loved it. We had, but then a publisher came by and they're like, hey, like, I heard you got this book. And it was because someone did me a favor. They passed my book up to a publisher, and this guy that's like this, is it Pulitzer? What's the again, this is me being unaware, but like,
Pulitzer, yeah.
This
right.
Pulitzer guy like read through my book and he said, man, he was like, we need to do some work here. We need to make it more reader centric because it's about you. And that wasn't my goal. I thought it was reader centric. I thought, like, this is the things that I've done. This is where I ruined it. So the funny thing is I then rewrote the book. I didn't have the ego to be like, well, this is my book. And I could have been offended, but I could have been like, well, this guy knows what he's talking about. And it's coming from the publisher. Well, next thing you know, I rewrote the book, sent it out there, and everyone's like, it's amazing. This is what we need. So we tweaked it again. Next thing you know, I ended up getting a publishing deal. And then what we did is when we launched the book, I launched it. I wanted to have it in all formats, like Audible, Kindle and print and hardback. Next thing you know, the book took off. But then we were then marketing it. I didn't want to just be a big splash in the pond. We just kept marketing it. And then we were pushing these like reading groups and going after those, those. Next thing you know, in December, man, it just popped. Number 1 on Barnes & Noble, number 3 on Wall Street Journal, 117th place. Like, I've never been so excited to get 117th place to get on the USA Today list, whatever. And I was like number 1 in 3 or 4 different categories on Amazon. So like, listen, guys, what I'm saying is resonating with people. And it wasn't a splash in the pond. Like, I'm speaking on things that people need to hear. I don't think I'm saying anything revolutionary, but I think I just got a pretty cool way about it. And I weave some of my own testimony in there. And if you read the book, like, I don't think the book is always 100%. There's probably some things I would have maybe added, but we had to edit and take a lot of stuff out. So a lot of stuff, like, I had to, but I got a book 2 kind of in the works right now too. So for me, it's just being able to pour into others. If this book can help people, because everyone's frustrated, I thought this was a way for my book. And then also, in a weird way, guys, if I were to pass away today, I'm not trying to think like if I were to die, but like, I want my kids to know who I am. My kids are still young to where, like, my oldest daughter may know, but my daughter is 3 and 2. I want them to know who their dad was. I want them to know my heart. I wasn't this hard driving, relentless, like, sales guy. Like, no, like, I was a great salesman and I built these companies, but I was a good dude. That's what I want them to know. And that's why I wanted to put this book out there. So now that it's a bestseller, I had a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, who wants to read my book? Like, why would I do this? This is dumb. And I had a lot of people from back home being like, bro, like, writing the book, like, who do you think you are, Tony Robbins? Like, being mean and all that stuff. But man, that's why I don't associate with those people. But what I know is when numbers don't lie. That's what I like about sales. Everything can be subjective. But if you're number one in and out and you're getting these sales on these books, man, the numbers don't lie. So I know I'm doing the right thing just basically because I can look and see what the numbers are doing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Are you still door knocking?
The funny thing is, yeah, I do a little bit. So what we do is we have new sales guys. We're building these teams, and I take them out there and I door knock because I think a lot of people are like, oh, that doesn't work. Absolutely, I do. And then we're doing jobs like I think of myself as like the mayor. I think of myself as like the liaison, the face of the company. So I'm out and we're doing a job. I'll knock the neighbors' doors and be like, hey, I'm Burton Hughes at New View Roofing. If there's any trash that blows in your yard, just please, I don't want you to be upset. We try, and the wind is blowing and things like that. If any trash comes in your yard, please let me know. I give them one of my cards. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, like, I see you getting the roof done. I was like, yeah, we're here. We can do a quick roof inspection for you. I can have one of the guys take a look at it. And if there's damage, we'll work with your insurance company to get it taken care of or whatever it may be. And I love it. I like being out in the field, but I think of myself as like a mayor. So I'm out, politicking, meeting the neighbors, but also growing the company. I think that matters. I think a lot of people don't do that. I think everything right now is so transactional. I think it's really proven successful for me, guys, is I run my business from a relational standpoint. I'm building relationships with people. There's transactional and there's relational. I think that's what made me successful is I'm pouring into others and I'm actually getting out in the field, meeting these people.
Are you driving the Lambo?
No, the Lambo. Guys, I drive my truck. I got an F-250 diesel. It's my favorite car. It's the one that makes money, But no, I like my truck.
Why not? Why wouldn't you drive the Lambo? Do you think it would give
here's the thing is they're gonna be like, well, this guy.
I'm curious how that would go.
Think about it. I think it depends on the client. And I will tell you, when I had my all right, I'm gonna say this. I had a customer. See, if you look me up on social media, you see like cars and stuff like that, but they don't know that I'm invested in other businesses. They don't know that I'm on covers of hundreds and hundreds of like book covers. I've been a fitness model. They don't know all this stuff. They know me as like Burton, like this roofer guy, right? So I had a customer and she was like, are you going to be able to take care of our house? She was being kind of being a little snooty. It was a big deal. I wanted the deal, but she was being so I pulled up in my Bentley to sign that contract. Guess how that conversation went? Completely different. Sometimes you got a posture, man. Like, I don't think the Lambo makes sense, but like with this company, like my car costs almost as much. I don't want to get like that. Don't people
as a house.
I just need to just let them know, like they just needed to know. And I rolled up in the Bentley.
Yeah.
Husband was like, oh, I like
Mayor Burton.
Yeah, sorry.
Rolling up in the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, the Lambo. So I want to reel it back.
All right.
Like, lights went out right now, Burton. What are you most proud of? Go.
Being a dad and helping people. Being the best version of myself. If that happened right now, I knew that I have no regrets. I wish I should have. I don't have it anymore, man. I don't.
What are your daughters' names?
Coco, Pepper, and Gigi. Guinevere. We call her Gigi.
I love those names. What about mentors? Do you have mentors in your life, or have you had any? Or do you not?
Yeah, man. I've got several. So my very first mentor was a high school music teacher, and I sent one of my books to him because he told me I was the dumbest, smartest person he ever met. When I was in high school, he literally wrote, "You have to be responsible" on the back of his business card. He was the teacher, that was kind of, like I said, I grew up really rough. I went to a very bad high school, a lot of violence and things like that. But he was like the oasis. He was like that one special teacher that is just, a diamond in the rough, and he poured over me. And that was my first mentor. That was the first person that told me I could. And the only person standing in my way is me. So what's stopping me? Me. Right. So you have to be responsible. I put that in my wallet until it literally turned to dust. Literally, it turned to dust. So this past year when I wrote my book and it started hitting, I sent him a copy. I don't know if he's gotten it yet, but it could be going out. And then now when I started, you emulate people you want to look like. So when it comes to the fitness side, Jay Cutler is like Mr. Olympia.
I thought we were interviewing Jay Cutler when you hopped on here, and I was like, wait.
Yeah, so really cool story. That was my Superman in the 2000s. When I would want to go to the gym, like I would watch his videos. Guess who's like a really good friend of mine now is Jay Cutler. We talk pretty regularly about cars or whatever. I'm just really proud of you. Funny thing is, when I turned pro, he came up to me that weekend and was like, bro, everyone says we look alike. Is true. He knew my name. I damn near fainted because in the Midwest, everyone was like, bro, you look like Jay Cutler. I swear to God, every day, even today. Well, the funny thing is he was like, everyone was saying, hey, Jay, you got this guy in the Midwest is like this physique pro. Like, you got, so like, I was telling people I look like him, and then people were telling that he looks like me, you know? So we kind of bonded over that, and now we're like pretty good friends. So that was another mentor. It's weird when you're
or like stepbrothers.
Weird, right?
You guys do look like, I just saw him in a Netflix documentary. Who was the other guy that won like 9 or 10
Ronnie
in a
Coleman.
row?
Ronnie Coleman.
Ronnie Coleman, right? Yeah.
Ain't nothing but a peanut.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be about it.
Everyone wants to be big, but no one wants to lift these heavy ass weights.
Yeah. But Ronnie lives here in Texas, man. He lives here in Dallas. So like professionally, man, like I didn't have these people to look up to. But now like Ryan Stewman is someone I really look up to that I mentor. Sammy Knight, like I told you, that's the guy that, you know, I mean, he's just an amazing, like my grandpa. I was in a Cabo trip, and I was like, who's this old guy telling these funny jokes? And I just thought he was someone, I didn't know who he was because he's not out here like, this is who I am. I come to find out like who this guy is. I'm like, this guy's a billionaire. And he's talking, you know, it's crazy. So these are people that are literally pouring into me, and they're pulling me up. And then what I'm doing now is I'm pulling other people up, man. Like, it's just how it goes. So as we're all reaching up, man, you help pull other people, you know, below you. So yeah, I've got mentors. I got Kurt Leinington that's in the roofing industry, just a great guy. But these are guys that like I truly can call friends, and they're good people. And if you were to shine a light in the darkness on them dudes are living pure. They don't have any skeletons in the closet, man. You're just good people. And yeah, I may have to pay money to be in rooms with some of these guys because these masterminds, but then I was able to network from there and foster and build the relationships. Sometimes you got to pay the money, again, investing in myself to put myself in proximity to 7, 8, 9, 10 figure earners. I mean, you're not going to be in proximity, but if you can get in proximity to those people and get them bought into you, a lot of these guys, man, you're special, man. You got something cool. I really like what you're doing. If someone's saying that like to you, it's helping me with my confidence, and I know I'm on the right track. You know what I mean?
I like that pay to play to get in the I had to.
And sometimes you got to do it, but like I know that if you're any money that you can spend, I think the best investments I've ever spent is investing in myself. And I know it sounds super, like a lot of people are like, that sounds egocentric, and sometimes you got to be self-centered, guys. You can't pour from an empty cup, you know. So for me, like, I want to be the best version of myself. So yes, I'm in the gym twice a day, and I got a couple of these cars. But it's a way for me to keep my cup filled, and then I can pour into others. You know what I mean? But if I'm and I'm not, what about how could I help and foster and help build other people up? You can't pour from an empty cup. So that's why I do, man. Yeah. And that's why I love coming on these podcasts, because you know, you're asking me cool questions. I love it, but then I'm able to talk to your people, and you're able to pour some insight on me. So it's like a two-way street, man. You know, I just think that everything is so transactional right now, and especially during COVID, man, everyone really, the people that are doing well are the people that are doing things more of a like relational, less transaction, more relational. People want to have the relationships. They want to grow. They want to know people. I think that was one of the biggest things with COVID. There was like an epiphany. There's been a paradigm shift, and I know you guys have seen it. People are talking more. People are like, they're not taking that for granted anymore, man. So, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
Who pulled you up, Burton? Who was the first person to pull you up other than that teacher? Was there an experience or a person?
No.
Or was it just like inside you, something inside you?
No, I really will tell you guys, like everyone always tell me to sit down and be quiet. And I did for a long time. And it wasn't until like I didn't change. Everyone's like, man, you've changed, you know? And I'm going to tell you guys, like, I never changed. I just stepped into who I was supposed to be. And I'm where I want. I'm not anywhere. We can wake up and you can be grateful for what you want. Like, you can be grateful. Like, I think that's really important. I think you should wake up and you should do your daily affirmations. I don't do it all the time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do. But think about this. If you can be grateful for what you have now, but then also have the aspiration to go and get what's next, you're unstoppable, because it's not a scarcity mindset. You can be grateful for what you have, but you can still grow and get after what you want. I think that when you have that type of, like, you're unstoppable. And the people that I have around me are like, man, you could be doing more. Like, not more like from a negative standpoint, like spreading myself thin, but like you could have more influence. Think about more people. Now that I've gotten this book, more people know me, so now I can speak more. Now, you understand what I'm saying? I'm not taking on more work. I'm taking on more purpose. That's what's awesome.
Have you had something like weird happen? Like someone come up to you like randomly and be like, "Hey man, I don't know you, but like someone told me that you're going to like help a lot of people." Have you had like an experience like that?
So you just gave me the chills, man. The weirdest thing that I'm starting to experience now is I don't even want to get kind of misty-eyed because people are going to be like, this guy's a clown. But writing this book and seeing how many people, I could tell you how many hundreds of DMs that people have said, man, like, you know, I was sexually abused as a kid, and your book like resonated with me, man, that I do matter, that I'm not just an object. Like, bro, like I'm getting choked up because like when, you know, something that I was literally on a treadmill and I had this epiphany that I should put some things down on paper. And then I see people like it's changing the way they think of things. And the one guy's like, man, I'm a better dad, man. I spoke a couple weeks ago and this guy was like, man, like the way you pour into your kids, man. He was like, I was building my business and then my relationship failed, but I didn't want my relationship with my kids to fail. And I told him my story. And these guys are like stepping up and I'm like, you guys need to read the book, like Stronger Fathers, Strong Daughters, because what we do matter. Like guys, we're not showing up in the household. Like it's weird when I go to the grocery store with my kids, people look at me like I'm an alien because people just don't see their kids with their dads anymore. Like we're not showing up in the house. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing these people writing me these DMs and saying like, man, you really like the proverbial light bulb went off. And I'm like, I didn't say anything revolutionary, but maybe just when they were reading the book, they were at that point in their life that they were to receive it, you know? So those type of things. And I've had people come up and be like, man, you're different, you know? And when it was old me, like different scared people. Now people are like, man, you just got, it's because I'm living authentically, man. I'm living with purpose. I think that there's like a vibe or whatever it is, man. But like daily I'm getting those. And honestly, they're affirmations there. They're letting me know I'm doing the right things, you know? Like that's how I know. It's like confirmations that I'm on the right path. And as long as I stay in this, I don't lose sight of what I'm doing, I just don't see how I could go wrong. I just don't. So,
Burton, you're strong for so many better and better.
What'd you say?
It's going to keep getting better and better for you, Burton. I can feel it, man. Shut up, Josh. I'm going. Hey, Burton, what kind of books do you
I can use your microphone right now.
Yeah, okay. Andrew, you had to say something, and Josh, you had to say something, man. So you have to flip a heads or tails on who's going to ask me.
On, Burn, you pick. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Catch Andrew bias too. All right, Andrew, shoot.
Books. What are a couple? You got some back there? What do you recommend?
These are a couple of my favorites. The best book I ever read, Dad told me to read it when I was 15, and I was super embarrassed. I was like, you got to be kidding me. The book that really, because the only time I read books was like you had to like read them for school, and I hated that. But Andrew Carnegie, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, was the book that the first light bulb went off. That one. So you asked me what my first mentor was. Maybe it was him, but he was already dead and gone. But he didn't know he was my mentor. But that book changed the way I looked at things. And I think another book that's a really good one is Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters is up there. And another really good book. A lot of people... Grant Cardone, he's an interesting dude. I think I like him. Sometimes he rubs people wrong, but I kind of like some of the things he says. So he wrote the book Be Obsessed or Be Average, and he's talking about like buying a jet and all this kind of stuff. And if you don't have the right mindset to read that book, like that book could really put you off. But what he's saying is be absolutely relentless. You got to be obsessed. Most people always have a backup plan. See, with anything that I do, maybe I was just too dumb to know it. I was all in. That's all I got. I didn't have anything to fall back on. So when you don't have a fallback plan, when you literally burn your proverbial ships, there's no like, well, I could always like sneak out the back door. No, like, fucking, I'm going 100%, 100 miles an hour in one direction. Like I said, for me, I didn't have a lot of options. I was the guy that had to put all my eggs in one basket and watch it closely. You know, in the book, he says, you know, my brother and I were walking to the store and he was playing with this quarter or something like that. And he flipped his quarter, it fell on the ground, rolled down the drain. He lost his quarter. And then his brother went to the store. They got candy and he was pissed because he didn't have any candy. Comes home and his grandpa said, look, man, Grant, it's not that you lost your quarter, but it was your only quarter. You know what I mean? There's little nuggets here and there in these books that you can dissect. But what he said was be obsessed or be average. If you're not absolutely all in and loving what you're doing, then like you got to look at yourself. You'll always have a fallback plan. And then you may be in a position right now, you're in a W-2 employee, but you're an entrepreneurial spirit. Look, do what you got to do now so you can do what you want to do. Oh, you work till 5, but your daughter's dance recitals or dance classes at 4 p.m. Well, guess what? If you're a W-2 employee, you're probably paid for your time, not your performance. So why don't you talk to your boss about going in from 7 to 3, right?
Do you ever does anybody ever tell you to like calm down or anything? And you're like, Burton, like you're bringing it, right? You know, and they're like, dude, you know, how do you respond to that?
Intense, man. It's out of love, man. I'm not trying to be a drill sergeant. I just get on. I say I go off. We'll be done with this podcast and I will have blacked out. I'll have to go back and watch it and be like, damn, that was a couple good things you said there.
Because I'll come in like with your energy to the office and Josh will be like, dude, you got to calm.
No, it's different. It's completely different.
I'm a really calm.
It's different. You only think it's different.
Completely different, Burton. Because Burton's
He's just saying it's different so he doesn't offend you.
No. Because like Burton's approach, from what I'm gathering, it could be intense, but if you listen to the words that he's saying, they have true meaning behind it. Like I give people the example, like if someone like me walked up to the gym and I'm doing something and Burton came up to me and he's like, yo, man, you're doing this wrong. Step aside. Let me show you how to do these tricep push downs. And then he's like, bam, look at that tricep. I'd be like, this guy's an asshole. But if he came over and was like, hey, man, I saw you're doing these tricep things. I'm concerned you may hurt yourself. Can I show you a better way of doing it?
That's my approach. That's how I would have done it.
That's
how I would have done it. Yeah.
But he could go both ways. I mean, it's the same guy, same intention, but your words and your choices.
It's kind of funny, man, because when people see me, they're like, you all right? You good? Because I'm actually kind of an introvert. Honestly, like, I think that's what I like about my job is like I'm in my truck a lot. And I'm always kind of, like I said, I've always kind of roamed by myself. When I was young, I was always kind of by myself. I'm like an omnivert. So I think what it is like I'm by myself a lot and I got these ideas. And then when it's like, hey, we're going to have you be on this podcast, I go, wow. And then I can like all these things that have been running through my brain, like I can just come out and say it. But for the most part, man, I'm reserved. I'm pretty chill. I don't show a lot of like, you happy, like, good, you excited, I'm having a blast. And they're like, they couldn't, like my daughter's the same way. They're like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm having a blast. Why? Because we're just kind of sitting and we're more kind of pensive and, you know, but when I get on these things and I start speaking on stuff, yeah, it's definitely intense. And I got this weird like vein right here that like, it like pops out.
Mayor Burton. So you're strong for your daughters. It sounds like you're strong for employees. You're strong in the gym. Who's strong for you, man? Like who brings you and who's strong for you to keep you rolling?
All my relationships, man. Like I've got a good group of people around me that pour into me and you know, that's it. I don't have any singular one person, to be honest. I'm in contact with a lot of my people and that's it. I've never been asked that question, so I may have to like, think about that. But to be honest with you, I'll have to think about that because really, I don't know.
Man, think about it a little bit.
Honest with
you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself, man, because we all gotta have people help us. Like Andrew helps me. I help him. We got some help here. Like we all need help.
I got my mentors, man. But the thing is, like, guys, like I don't have any. Like, I really don't have stress. Any stress that I put upon myself is for me, like, to push to perform. But when I literally tell you, when I go to bed at night, like, I'm not like, man, I wish I had more time in the office. Like, I'm literally just trying to optimize to try to pull myself out of it. You know what I mean?
Like how much you bench press, Burton? How much can you bench press? 400?
I don't want to get hurt, so I don't go over 220. So I'll do 220 like 15 to 20 times versus doing 315. I'm old, guys. I'm 39.
Well, if you want to see how strong you are, you got to have a spotter to make sure you don't get there, man. I want
to look like I can move a house. I don't care if I can move the house because a lot of times you're not going to have to lift that heavy ass weight. So look at Ronnie Coleman right now. He can't even walk anymore. He's in a wheelchair now because he was like, it ain't nothing but a peanut. He's in a wheelchair now. So for me, I'm at the gym. I'm doing higher reps. I look good. I keep myself healthy, but I'm injury free. And I'm not trying to I guess if I had to move the house, I could. You know, if I had to bench press 400 pounds, like I could. But man, I don't want to get hurt. So for me, I work smart. I make calculated decisions. My diet is 92%. Everything you do is your diet. So when I'm doing my food, like the exercise and the food and my mindset and all this kind of stuff, it all plays, man. So to be honest with you, I'm not trying to hurt myself in the gym these days. Maybe when I was 20, but 315 I could do for 10, but I never really went over 315, and it just hurts. So
are you speaking or going to RoofCon? Isn't that in Dallas this year? Are you familiar
with SRC yesterday? I was on a panel with industry leaders, and then you got this guy Burton Hughes up there that is an entrepreneur, right? It was kind of funny. Like, I made it a joke. I was like, "All you guys up here are CEOs with like these, 8-9 figure companies, and our company does well, but I don't own it, right?" So it was really funny. So I think a lot of those people, I got some DMs after that. Like, man, like, I really appreciate what you said up there, but I spoke at SRC this past weekend. It was really cool. I got to meet and chop it up for a little bit with General Michael Flynn. One of the really cool things over the course of the last couple of years is the rooms that I've ended up being in. I'd like to speak at SVG or whatever is in a couple of weeks. Like maybe I'll go to that. But guys, I was literally at Matt Schlapp's house. Like, I don't care what anyone's political affiliations are, but like I was literally at a house party in DC with the leaders of the world, like leaders of our country. Like, those are the rooms that in like about that single wide trailer kid growing up in Columbus, Ohio, just the guy. But my mindset was always thinking big, and now I'm putting myself in these rooms and I'm getting invited to these things. So like, I know that I'm creating influence. But I was with Trump's kids. I was with Ben Carson. So we have a tech company that builds apps. So think of like WordPress that builds these websites. We got a company, Skylab, that builds apps for these. Like, Ben Carson's on our board of directors. I mean, think about it. Like, these are people that like I'm in proximity with, and it's just crazy. It's just, I just know that I'm doing the right things. I'm with the right people, but I sought those relationships. And like I said, I'm more relational. I'm building in the relationships. And I think that that's where, if anyone's listening to this right now, is take advantage of that. Like, if you're growing your business, go to the networking events, go to the like the young professionals groups and stuff in your city, and really go out. And it's amazing what'll happen in the favors. And I think that ultimately is what politics are. And everyone thinks, like, everyone's also, you're going to be a senator one day. And honestly, guys, I don't even know, maybe, but the thing is like when you're building the relationships, like, everyone's working together. And I said it earlier, like, there's a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And I think that that's what I'm being very intentional with right now, is who am I putting myself into rooms with, and who am I aligning myself with? Because that ultimately, at the end of the day, is what matters. So
aligning your empire. 6 assets of alignment.
Well, Mayor Burton has shared everything from, being a strong father for his daughters to being a world champion bodybuilder to balling out, buying Lambos, and going from the single wide to, I mean, what would you call it? What kind of house you got right now? You compare it to like a single wide. You got a 10 wide, 20 wide.
I think we're stacked up now. I think we're going like 3-dimensional now. Yeah.
And the best-selling author. He's got it going on.
Best-selling author.
Yep.
So
I want to.
Thanks for coming on.
Like a moat around it. I'm still a child. I was looking at some houses last year, and they had secret passages. I don't care. I'm 39 years old. I'll be 40. Like, I still want secret passages. I'd like to have a moat with sharks with freaking laser beams, like, touch. But
before I go, I gotta ask. As a father. Yeah. What's your best dad joke?
Oh, damn.
You gotta have one.
Yeah, I do. Oh man, hang on. I got it.
I'm making you think too much, Burton.
I know, man. I like these questions though. I'm gonna have to sharpen up. It's
Yo, I didn't prepare. I prepared 0, by the way. These are just all on the
fly. You stumped the guest. Oh yeah, okay. I know what the punchline is. I'm trying to think of it as like what. Oh man, it's like what. I'm stumped. I know the punchlines. I can't think of the questions. I was like, what happens when you sit on the grape? He didn't say anything. He just let out a little whine. Like, I've got little funny ones like that. But I'm literally stumped. I'm gonna have to get back. We're gonna have to do like round 2, and I'm just gonna come.
Round 2, part 2.
Prepared.
I'll give you one, Burton. I'll give you one. All right. What do you? All right. I gotta make sure I get it right. What do you call a drone that delivers milk?
I don't know.
Dairy air. Dad joke.
That's a good.
Dad joke.
Man, I gotta.
There you go. Tell it to the girls.
That's a good one. I gotta think of these, man. I used to have like a bunch on deck, but I'm stumped. Well done, Josh. Well done, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Burton.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for hopping on, and it was fun. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, man, for sure. And do you mind if I just say one other thing, just in closing?
Yeah, anything you want to say, let it all out.
Some of the things I say today, I'm not the smartest dude. I just know that like work ethic and hard work I put in, and I've made some good choices. And with my book, I'm by no means perfect, man. And like when I talk about like mindset and faith and family and all these different things, I've crashed and burned in all of these areas. I just figured out a way to like rework it. And that was really the goal with the book, and one thing I want to leave, like maybe some people right now, you're kind of struggling with faith. And you guys heard me talk about, God's working on my mouth and stuff like that. But I want to close it with this. Faith isn't always what you think it is. Faith is knowing that if you do the work today, tomorrow will take care of itself. That's faith. So I just want people to just, I'd love for them to pick up the copy of the book. If they do, if they don't, it's on them. But, you can reach out to me on Instagram, on Instagram, I'm Burton_Hughes_official, Burton Hughes official, just an underscore in between those. And then if you're interested in listening or reading or downloading the book, it's on Amazon. You can also go through my personal website. It's www.burtonhughesofficial.com. We have an app on there too that's kind of like an accountability app. But if I said some things today, like to the listeners, and it rubs you wrong, why did it rub you wrong? Did I say something that offended you, or did I say something you needed to hear? Because I think sometimes I'm like the chief reminding officer. Sometimes I just remind you of things you already know. I just have maybe a different way to package it, or I say it a different way. So right now, if you're frustrated, but you got to find out, like, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you frustrated? Because if you don't know what you want, you're just kind of aimless. So I think that's the biggest thing I want the listeners to really think about today is, can you look yourself in the mirror and say you're proud of yourself? Do you have defined, do you have purpose? Like, what is that? Because once you get that and you start aligning some of these areas that I talk about, I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are walking around because they have anxiety and they're depressed, but it's not. They're not clinically depressed, or they don't have anxiety. It's because it's situational. It's certain things. So remember, always coming back to faith. Faith is knowing that if you do the work today, tomorrow will take care of itself. Anxiety, depression, stuff that you may be suffering from, it may just come down to something simple like that. That's what I want to close it with. So,
Burton Hughes, everybody. You got the coolest name, man. I wish it was mine, and it fits you too.
Thanks, man. Burton Prescott Hughes. I needed to be something because they gave me a hell of a name. So.
That's a good one.